Welcome to this first session of the 7th Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita. We start with our gratitude towards the Lord, Ishwar Krupa, through which everything is possible, to this Guru Parampara, Guru and Shishya Parampara, through which this knowledge has been preserved and transmitted through generations. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Param Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share this understanding with you all. We'll start with a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So as you know, Sri Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna in the battlefield of Mahabharata. It comprises of 700 shlokas and it gives us the real understanding of this cosmos, this world, how we can live this life in a much better way so that all our pains, our miseries, our dukkha, shoka, sorrows and bhaya, fear can be abolished by understanding this, the principles of eternity as espoused by Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So it is a manual for our practical life and it is the most useful grantha. It is the base of all the Vedas and the Upanishads, the Sar or the summary of the Vedas and the Upanishads. So it gives us a great understanding in a very profound way, in a short way. It has been understood for people like us. We can understand. Of course, we need a guru who can explain us the intricate meaning of what Lord Krishna is trying to say in each shloka. But these are words of Bhagwan himself, and that's why they carry a lot of weight and they're so useful for us. So far we have completed the first 6 adhyayas, and if you see the Gita Ji, it comprises of 18 adhyayas, and these 18 adhyayas can be divided into 3 categories: the first 6, the second 6 and the third 6 adhyayas. So the first 1 to 6 adhyayas, the main subject matter of these first 6 adhyayas was the Swarupa of the Jiva. Jiva is ourselves. We are all Jivas. And when the Guru tells us, then he indicates by Tvam Padartha, Tvam, that you are the Jiva. Whereas when we try to understand these scriptures, it is Aham Padartha, that we have to understand who am I. That is the first question which comes to us, and for this there is this journey which helps us to understand. And this understanding can be of 2 types. One is called Vachyartha, that is the literal meaning, or the Vachyartha means whenever we speak the word who am I, then it comes to my mind that I am so and so, this is my name, this is my profession, this is my lineage, this is my family, this is I am a father, I am a son, I am a teacher, I am these are all the things that come to our mind. So that is the Vachyartha. But what is the Tvam Pad Lakshyartha? Lakshyartha means the indicated meaning or the Lakshit meaning. What is the real meaning, the Swarupa? What is the real understanding? That is called the Tvam Pada Shodhana. In Shastra or in the scriptures, this is called Shodhana. Tvam Padartha Shodhana. That means the Lakshyartha of Tvam Padartha. Who am I really? In reality, who am I? So that is what the first 6 adhyayas talk to us. In the second adhyaya, as you know, Lord Krishna talked about the Jnana, the ultimate understanding of Atma, Anatma. What is Atma? What is Anatma? Whether I am Atma or Anatma. He made this very clear, this Viveka, that Atma is eternal, Anashino, Avyaya, Aprameya. All these he made very clear. Nainam Chindati, Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavakaha. It is indestructible. And he also made it very clear that what is Anatma? Karma. We talked about karma, second adhyaya, Karma Yoga. and the third Adhyaya, which is a more detailed description of Karma Yoga. It is all, karma is all part of Anatma. All the karma happens in the Anatma. So this was made very clear. The main subject matter was karma. So because Jiva, our own Jiva, all the Jiva are, Prabhav, Pravrutta in karma. Because that's our natural tendency to do karma, to do activities. We cannot sit still for a moment also. So we are all involved in karma, and that's why our Adhikaritva is for Karma Yoga. That's what Bhagavan Shri Krishna told us in the 4th Adhyaya beginning. In the 5th Adhyaya also we answered the question that Karma Yoga Vishishyate. It is better to do Karma Yoga rather than to do Karma Sannyasa. So with this understanding, karma is the main subject matter of the first, the 3rd, 4th, 5th Adhyayas, and 6th Adhyaya is mainly devoted to the Dhyana, the Atma Sanyama Yoga, as you have already seen. So essentially karma pradhan. It's not that only karma is talked about, a lot of other vishayas or subjects are also talked about in the first 6th Adhyaya, but it is karma pradhan. The second 6th Adhyayas, that is from the 7th Adhyaya to the 12th Adhyaya, which we are now starting, is mainly devoted to Ishvara Pradhan. They are Tat Pradhan. Tat is the word used to describe Parmeshwar, Ishwar, and it is also called in different ways. Brahma is one way to denote the supreme, eternal, Nirgun Tattva, and we cannot understand Ishvara or without doing bhakti, and that's why these 6 Adhyayas are Bhakti Pradhan. The main subject matter is bhakti. Of course, there is a lot of jnana, there will be some Karma Yoga, there will be some Ashtanga Yoga, Prakriti Viveka, Kshetrajna Viveka. A lot of other subjects are there in these Adhyayas, but the predominantly subject matter is the bhakti, and it is the 12th Adhyaya is actually the Bhakti Yoga. But even in 7th Adhyaya, when Ishwar talks about his own Swarupa, bhakti comes always, and that is how we can reach to the Lord. That is the only way to reach to Ishvara. So the 7th Adhyaya starts with the bhakti, and then finally the last 6 Adhyayas from the 13th to the 18th Adhyayas talk about the oneness, the Aikya, how Asi. So Asi means the Tat Tvam Asi, or Aham Brahma Asmi. So Asmi means that I am the same as the Lord, this ultimate knowledge of the Upanishads, the Jnana. So that's why the last 6 Adhyayas are predominantly Jnana Pradhan. It's not that Jnana is not talked about, it's talked about entirely in the Gita Ji, but finally that Aikya Jnana is talked about, how we can achieve that, what is the sadhana, what is the Asuri Sampatti, the Daivi Sampatti, what is the Traigunya, Viveka, and all this is talked about in the last 6 Adhyayas. So Jeev, Ishvara, Aikya, as we see, the first Adhyaya talks about Jeev, the second 6 Adhyayas talk about Ishvara, then the last 6 about Aikya. So that Jeev, Ishvara, Aikya is the main subject matter of Gita Ji, and this understanding, which also is called as the Mahavakyas of Upanishads, like Tat Tvam Asi, Tvam is Jiva, Tat is Ishvara, and Asi is the Aikya. And similarly, Aham Brahmasmi, that is another Mahavakya of Upanishad, Aham Brahma Asmi. So Aham is Jiva, Brahma is Ishwara or Paramatma, and Asi means Aikya. So that's how this is the understanding. And to reach to this level of knowledge, we need a lot of sadhana. We have already seen this, the sadhana and sadhya viveka. So karma is one sadhana, karma yoga. Bhakti is another sadhana, which is talked about in the ensuing adhyayas. And finally the jnana sadhana, the jnana yoga, shravana, manana, nididhyasana. And finally the goal is to achieve dhamma jnana. And that is ultimate goal. So basically all the karma, bhakti, jnana, they are all sadhana. Sadhana are the tools, are the means, the way to achieve the end. And the end is the sadhya, that is the brahma jnana. So this understanding is also very, very important. What is the sadhana and what is the sadhya? What is the ways to achieve, the means to achieve the goal, and what is the goal? All this must be very clear in the mind of the sadhaka if we are embarking on this journey. And that's how we can actually progress on this path to reach this ultimate goal of human life. So let's talk about what is devotion, what is bhakti, how can we connect to God by bhakti, because bhakti is one of the most important sadhana which can help us to connect to the Lord. So it is important for purifying and elevating our emotions. We are all human beings, are all full of emotions, and most of the times what happens is that our emotion is generally diverted to the worldly affairs. It is, sometimes you can say, it is wasted on useless things. We get unnecessarily involved in too many things, and that's how we don't elevate our emotions. And to connect our emotions from all these worldly afflictions towards the Lord, towards the God, is the way to purify our emotions and to elevate our emotions. So bhakti does this. Bhakti is a very, very important sadhana for purifying and elevating. So what is bhakti? Bhakti essentially is love. So love is an integral part of bhakti, and without love there cannot be any bhakti. If we want to do bhakti towards the God, we must love the Lord. We must love the God in the most, in the highest form. And along with love, there must be some kind of respect. So it's not that this love is without respect, or of the respect of the highest nature, what is also called as reverence. And that is what bhakti is. So bhakti is essentially love with respect or with reverence. And according to Ramanujacharya, who is one of the bhakti proponents of bhakti shastras, and bhakti is he has written a lot about bhakti. According to him, bhakti is highest love, that not just that God is mine, but I belong to God completely. So that is the highest form of love. It is that love is firm and unwavering. There is no change. It's not that today I love God, tomorrow when there is some dukkha, I say, God, Bhagwan, kyun ye dukh diya mujhe? So it's not that this Shraddha, this bhakti does not waver. That is unshakable, it is unwavering. And it is also associated with an understanding, with the knowledge that finally, though I understand that I am doing bhakti towards my Lord, finally, Atma Swarup, I and the Lord are the same. So that understanding, that knowledge, that jnana, that oneness, just like gopis had with Krishna, they were all knowledgeable. They were completely devoted to the Lord, but that was also with full understanding and the knowledge that they are part and parcel of the Lord themselves. So with this understanding, they were in love with the Lord. So we have to learn bhakti from a devotee. It is said that karma can be learned from shastras, from guru can teach us how to do karma, but bhakti can be learned from a devotee, actually how they are doing bhakti, and this is how we can learn from a devotee, because a lot of bhava is involved in bhakti, and a lot of emotions and bhava, vrittis, all these are involved in bhakti. So bhakti, it is said that it makes the inner self quite full with moisture, with a lot of rasa. So all these rasas of the life we must enjoy. Shungar rasa, bhakti has a lot of different rasas. And it is said that people who are jignasu, who are tattva jignasu, or on a gnana marg or on a karma marg, they are more dry people, whereas bhakta are more emotional, they are more full, they enjoy the rasas more. And bhakti makes that gives that bhinash to the mati, it is said. So it gives the moisture to the sand. So it makes it, the moist sand has a sugandha, it has a pious smell, and that's what bhakti does. So faith is the essence of bhakti. Without shraddha, there cannot be love. Without faith, there cannot be love or respect or reverence. So shraddha is a very, very essential part of bhakti. Unless we have shraddha, we cannot have love or bhakti. And bhakti is a very, very important sadhana for mukti. Though bhakti is not a direct sadhana of mukti, bhakti purifies the antakarana. It causes mana to become more quiet, still, and chanchalta, jo man ka jo ek jisko bolte hai ashuddhi, it is called vikshepa. So this ashuddhi is taken care by bhakti. It makes the mind soft, gentle, also helps in taking care of our ahankara, our ego. Because with bhakti we always feel that it's the Lord's grace that everything is being done in my life. And that's how the bhakta feels. And this is how his ego, his pride also gradually softens. And with this he can pursue on this path and ultimately lead to jnana. So it is the jnana that is the cause for mukti or liberation or moksha. Bhakti is the sahakari sadhana. It is not the main sadhana for liberation. The main sadhana for liberation, according to Vedanta Shastra, is the Brahmakara Vritti. That is the cause for this Brahmajnana, and that is the cause for liberation. But bhakti is a very, very important sadhana, not just in Gita Ji, but even in Upanishads it has been acknowledged. In Kaivalya Upanishad, when Ashwalayana Muni went to Brahmaji and asked for the Gnana, first shloka, it says Shraddha Bhakti Gnana Yoga Dahayi. So means Shraddha, Bhakti and Dhyana are very important Sahakari sadhana for this Gnana. So even in that, even some of the Bhakti shlokas of Shivji are there in the Kaivalya Upanishad. So many of these Upanishads talk about Bhakti also. It's not that Upanishads are only devoted to Jnana, because according to Lord, according to Ishavasya also, you need both. Karma and Bhakti, both are in. The Samuchya is more important. Just one is not good enough according to the Ishavasya Upanishad. You need Samuchya in sadhana. So if we want to do Bhakti, we must understand Bhagavana also, because Bhagavana is something that is quite sometimes unknown for us. We have not seen Lord. That's why sometimes it is difficult to understand who is Bhagavana, and there are a lot of different types of impressions in our mind about God, what we have heard since our childhood. Some samskaras are there, very drada in our mind of who is Bhagavana and what is Ishvara. But we have not done so much of thought or given so much of thought to who is Bhagavana, what is Ishvara. So that we must understand if we really want to do Bhakti. So Bhagavana has different swarupas. Swarupas means it's not forms, it's not the real translation. There is no real word in English for swarupa, but Bhagavan has different swarupa, but one of the swarupa is definitely the Paramarthik swarupa. It's also called the real swarupa, the Satya swarupa of Bhagavan. So let us look at what are all the different swarupas of Bhagavan. The first is called the Saguna Sakar swarupa, so which has the name and the form, and which we generally call as Bhagavan. And Avatar Swarupa, we also tell this, and all the Bhagavanas, that the Devi Devatas and all the Rama, Krishna, Shivji, Ganesha, Hanuman, and all those other Devi Devatas, Ma are all the Saguna Sakar form of Bhagavan or Ishwar. So that is the first Swarupa of Bhagavan. The second Swarupa of Bhagavan, which is called as Ishwara, is which in Shastras is described as Nimitta Upadana Karana. So it's a Abhinna, Nimitta and Upadana Karana. Means it is both Nimitta, that is the instrumental cause, and Upadana Karana. Upadana Karana is the material cause of the universe. So if you just give an example, say you make a pot from the clay, from the sand, and it is the potter who makes the pot actually. So the sand is the material cause of the pot. It is the mati, upadana karana, whereas the potter who makes the pot is the nimitta karana. So he is the instrumental cause. Through him the pot was made. So these are the two karanas of the universe. And in most of the philosophies of the world, it is said that Ishvara or God is the cause of the universe. But it's only in our Vedic philosophy, the ancient Vedic philosophy, we believe that it's not just that he is the instrumental cause, but he is also the material cause. The Upadana Karana means he is also the substance through which this is made. In other sense, he is not just, he has made the creation, but he is part of the creation. So Lord is the creation himself. That is what our Vedic philosophy says, and that we call as Ishvara. And this Ishvara manifests in different forms. One of the forms which is called Vibhuti. Vibhuti Darshana. In this Adhyaya, in this today's session, we will see what in very Sankshepa God describes as Vibhuti. In the ensuing Adhyayas, there is a Vibhuti Yoga through which God says how we manifest in different ways. Virata Swarupa, the Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa is another Adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita. We will see this in the future. And we always say that Bhagwan to andar hai, antaryami roop se andar baithe hue hai. So that is also one of the ways Ishwar can manifest. And we always see that this is because of the God's Krupa, His glory, His grace, Unka Aishwarya, His glory is there. So all this are the types of, they are neither the Saguna nor the Nirguna, but they can be considered in between the Sagun and the Nirguna Paramatma. And the third Swarupa of Bhagwan is called the Nirguna Nirakar Swarupa of the God, which is the formless God, and which is also called the Chaitanya. That means it is the consciousness through which all this manifests in our own self. When we consider an individual self, we consider that this manifests as Atma. We call it Atma. When it manifests as an expanse, universally, eternity, everywhere, in vastness. Then it is also called Brahma, the same form. And in English, we call it consciousness or existence, and which also we denote in our scriptures as Sat, Chit and Ananda Swarupa. So that is the Swarupa. These are not the gunas, these are not the attributes, these are not the gunas, but these are the Swarupa. By Swarupa, this Nirgun Swarupa or our own self is Sat. Sat means it is eternal, it is Nitya. Chit means it is Bhana Swarupa, knowledge, it is through which everything is known. And Ananda Swarupa means it is eternal bliss that we all manifest or feel inside us, that we have, and that is our Swarupa. So these are all the three Swarupas, and it is said in our Vedanta that the Paramarthik Swarupa, Tattvataha, when Bhagavan says that you know me Tattvataha or with the foundation, with the Paramarthik Swarupa, it is the Nirgun Nirakar Swarupa from which the Saguna and the Saguna Sakar Swarupa is manifested, through which all this comes, and then it again goes into that whole, again the Nirgun Nirakar Swarupa. So in Nirgun Nirakar it is Akarta, Abhokta, it does not do anything, whereas the Ishvara Swarupa is the Karta, it creates the universe. So from the Nirgun, the Saguna comes, and how this comes, that process will be also seen in the 7th Adhyaya, the role of Maya in the development of this universe, and how we all get deluded or more from this Maya. That will be the part of the second session of the 7th Adhyaya. So this is what is the understanding of the Ishvara. Now let us start the 7th Adhyaya and let us see briefly what it describes. The first 7 shlokas talk about the Jnana and the Vijnana, and Bhagavan says about his own Prakriti. What is my Prakriti? What is his nature that is created? What you see around, what is it? It is my own Prakriti, he says, Me Prakriti. And then there is a brief description of his Vibhutis from the 8th, 9th to the 12th shlokas, 11 shlokas, how we can see God everywhere in this world, how we can see this. And then from the 13th to the 19th shlokas, Bhagavan describes about the Trigunatmika Jagata, Maya, and because of which how Moha happens. And Asuri Bhav, the people who have Asuri Bhav, they don't pray, they are not the devotees of the Lord. And 4 types of devotees it describes, which we will see in the second session, the next session of the 7th Adhyaya. And finally in the third session, we'll see about all the devotees of the Devta, the Karma Phala Data, and the benefits of knowing this, the glory of the Lord and his real Swarupa, and the loss if we don't understand this and we don't know this Swarupa. So this is in the nutshell the 7th Adhyaya. So let's start with the first shloka of the 7th Adhyaya. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Saktamanah Partha Yogam Yunjan Matashrayah Asanshayam Samagram Mam Yathayasyasi Tachrunu. So here Lord Krishna starts his Adhyaya and he says, O Partha, tells up Arjuna, wake up, I have a lot to tell you still. Because the 3rd and the 5th Adhyaya, as you remember, started with Arjuna's question. But here Arjuna is not asking any question, but still Lord Krishna, because of his grace and his glory, he wants to tell a lot of things to Arjuna. And that's why he says, Mai asaktaha manaha. He tells Arjuna, you be attached to me. Your mind, with all your mind, with all your emotions, you be connected to me, you be attached to me, you be asakta within me. And Madashraya, he says also surrender to me with whatever is happening, accept this, because you don't know so many things, and that's why whatever is happening you must surrender, accept whatever happens, you surrender to me, be in my refuge. And the 3rd thing he says, Yogam Yunjan, and he says continue to perform this Yoga Sadhana, Yoga Yunjan, be in the Yoga Sadhana, because unless you put in efforts, you are not going to achieve anything. Yoga sadhana is a must for anyone. Some kind of effort is essential. Yatha tachrunu. So listen to this, Arjuna. Asanshayam. There is no doubt about this. Lord Krishna himself says that Mam Samagram Gnasase. If you keep doing this with your mind attached in me, with my surrender, and you continuously perform Yoga Sadhana, you will definitely know me completely. This is what Lord Krishna tells Arjuna and starts the 7th Adhyaya. So here Lord Krishna talks about two things. One is asakta manaha, and when we have already seen that Bhagwan ke teen, his swarupa. So here what it means, because it's very important to understand. Most of the confusion in Bhagavad Gita happens because we don't understand that Bhagwan अपने कौन से स्वरूप से बात करते हैं. What God is talking, Lord Krishna is talking from which swarupa he is talking. From here, in this shloka, he talks from the Saguna Sakar Swarupa, because here he talks about asakti. You keep asakti in me, you keep bhakti in me, you be asakta, you be attached to me, he says. And asakti can only happen with a form. So here he talks about the Saguna Bhakti, with Avtara Bhakti in a form, and he's not talking about his Ishwar Swarupa or his formless Nirguna Nirakar Swarupa. A lot of times he talks about from his Nirguna Swarupa, and in many areas he talks about his Ishwara Swarupa, this is my Prakriti. He talks about the Ishwar Swarupa when we see him in the next shlokas. So these are all the three. And why, the question can come that why so many Swarupa, Bhagwan? If he's, how can he be in different Swarupa? He has to be one. That is the question that can come to our mind. But this is because of our own adhikar. Because the jiva are very different, they all have different adhikar, they all have different, vrittis, they all have different suitabilities, eligibilities, everything is different. And that's why, hamare liye, for us to make life easier, Bhagwan assumes so many different forms or shapes or, different swarupas. Because there are some jivas who are, they are predominantly they operate from the mind or the mana, bhavana. They are very emotional. And for them, bhakti is the best way to reach to the Lord. That's why bhakti sadhana is the best form of sadhana for them. And in bhakti, always there is a bhed between the bhakta and the bhagwana. That bhed always remains because that's an integral part of bhakti. That, whatever puja, archana, japa, nama, smarana, whatever we do, we always pray to the Lord. That's why that bhed always remains in bhakti. But ultimate goal of any bhakta is to go again towards the bhed gnana, right? But there are some people, or there are many people actually who are buddhi pradhana. They are vichar pradhana. They keep thinking. They may be called rationalists, or they may be called logical people, or people who just want reasoning, or the so-called, we can say, the intellectuals. So these are the people who can pursue the Gnana Sadhana, because there are also a lot of people are Karma Pradhana. So they are all involved in activities. A lot of us, most of us are in activities, and that's why we can be Karma Pradhana, we can do for Karma Sadhana. And for people who are intellectuals, they can go for the Gnana Sadhana, which leads to Abheda, because Gnana, ultimately we have to reach to the Abheda Gnana. So because of this Adhikar Bheda, we can pursue different forms of our our spiritual journey. But Bhagwan says, you give your mana and buddhi, both. Mai asakta manaha, mai madashrayaha. So you give your both mind and buddhi to me, and this is the only way we can leave our attachment to this world. If we keep our attachment, change our attachment from worldly objects and go towards God, that is the only way. That's why Bhagwan says, Mai asakta manaha, you be asakta, you be attached to me, because that's the only way we can leave our asakti from this world. And that's why Bhagwan says that more and more you are attached to me, the less and less you will have asakti or attachment to this world. And then secondly says that Madashrayaha, take my refuge, surrender to me, have faith in me. There is a system that, karma phala is a system. All these, there are systems, janma, karma, bandhana, all these systems are there. And you be refuge and surrender to me, then you will accept, your mind will be calm, you will be able to enjoy this life and continue doing yoga, your yoga sadhana, because ultimately unless you purify your mind, unless you mature your mind, unless you still or quiet your mind, you cannot progress further. Indriya Sanyam, Mana Sanyam is very important part of sadhana, because unless we have purity, Shuddhi inside us, we cannot achieve or reach to the Lord. And that's why we have to give up a lot of things on this spiritual journey. Finally, the pride, the ego that I am the doer, I am doing this sadhana, and I am doing this karma, I am doing this bhakti, this is my gnana, this is my knowledge, I know so much. All this pride also we have to give up. All this we have to understand that this is because of the grace of the Lord that it is happening. And with this, the Bhakt will always feel that, my efforts are instrumental in getting or in attracting His grace, and it's only because of His grace that everything is happening. So knowing this greatness of the Lord, it will make me more and more humble as my yoga sadhana progresses. And then Bhagavan says that if you keep doing this, then Mam Samagram Yasasi, you will know me completely. Completely means with all the different Swarupas that sometimes are manifest as Avatar Swarupa. He says, the Lord Himself says in the 4th Adhyaya, if you remember the 7th and the 8th Shloka, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya and Paritranaya Sadhunam, He says how He Avatar, He gets a form. But just before that in the Shloka, the 6th Shloka, He says, Ajopi Avyaya San Vyaya Atma. That means even though I am unborn, Ajaha Api Sanna Avyaya Atma, means even though I am unborn, I take a form, I am Avyaya, I am indestructible, I am changeless, but still I take a form and become, and people think that I keep changing, I take a birth, I am a human form. So this is what is the real Paramarthik Swarupa of Bhagavana, and that is how we have to understand. Gnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshamyasheshatah yajgnatva neha bhuyonyata gnatavyam avashishyate. So in this second shloka, Lord Krishna says, Aham gnanam tu savijnanam idam vakshyami asheshatah. So I am going to tell you the knowledge of the Brahman, Brahma Gnana. So Gnanam means Brahma Gnana. And Savijnanam. Also along with it I am going to tell you the Vijnana. Vijnana means the assimilated knowledge of the Brahma Gnana. That means it comes to be my experience, becomes my experience. And he says, Vakshyami, I will tell you Asheshataha, in totality, completely, nothing, I'll spare, I'll tell you everything. He says, Arjuna, don't worry, Yach Gnatva, by knowing this, Na Iha Bhuyaha Anya Gnatavyam Avashishyate. So, there is nothing more to be known in this world. This is the highest form of knowledge. He says, this is the highest form of knowledge, and once you know this knowledge, then there is nothing more to be known. That's how he praises the Brahma Gnana, the highest knowledge, and says that once you know this, there is nothing more to be known in the world, because this is the foundation of all the knowledge. And in Vedanta also it says, Sarvam Khalu Vidam Brahma, everything is Brahma, everything is this Atmana. So this knowledge is the ultimate knowledge, and after knowing this, we don't have to know anything else. And that's why Lord Himself, Krishna, gives a pratigna. He says, by definitely Aham Vakshyami Gnanam Savijnanam, I'll tell you everything Gnana and Vijnana. So it's important to understand what is this Gnana and what is Vijnana. Gnana is more like a Paroksha Gnana, means that it is an information which remains in our memory as a knowledge. Whereas Vijnana is more aparoksha. It is more an assimilated knowledge into our self. So Gnana remains more as an information, but Vijnana becomes assimilated in our life, and it comes in our life, in our experience. It becomes part of our experience. So it becomes assimilated within us. So Gnana remains more in the memory, in the intellect, in the buddhi. Whereas Vijnana, it says, from the buddhi, it reaches the heart, where it gets assimilated in our own self and completely mingles with us. So Gnana remains transient, and it may change also, but it causes no change in our behavior, in our life. Our life is lived in the same old way or with the same old habits. It does not affect our life. I start learning scriptures, I learn a lot of things, but if I don't put it into practice, then my life will not change. That is Gnana, according to the Lord. And Vijnana means that knowledge becomes assimilated in my own self, and that's how it becomes part of my life. So it changes my life. Now I start living life in a completely different way, with a different understanding, with a different thinking. So that is Vijnana. Say for example, if you want to say, I want to go from place A to place B, I will put it in my Google Maps and see, okay, this is how is the direction, this is the road, this is one road, this is the other road, this will take me this many minutes, this will take me this many minutes. So that is Gnana, that is in the memory, that is. But if I actually travel to that place, the same taking the road, I will have an experience by my experience, because I've seen that, I've gone through that place, I've driven, I've seen exactly, so that will be much better in my memory. And if the next time I want to go, that memory will definitely help me because it becomes part of me. So Gnana can destroy ignorance, that Ajnana is Nivrutta, but that is very transient and does not give the phala. There is no benefit of having that memory or Gnana, which is also called Popatyu Gnana. Means it is in the mind, we rut like a parrot, we keep talking about it. But the Gnana, that becomes Vijnana, that becomes assimilated experience, that becomes Aparoksha, that reaches the heart, that changes the life, that changes my habits. And that is something that once the ignorance is destroyed, avidya, nivrutta, then it gives me mukti, liberation or moksha. So that is what is Vijnana. So it is very important that whatever Gnana we have, we must try to convert it into Vijnana by changing our sanskaras, and that happens by taking care of the Sanshaya and the Viparyaya. These are the two stumbling blocks or the obstacles to the Gnana. One is Sanshaya, that are the doubts, and Viparyaya are the opposite sanskaras. So to take care of these, it is said that after we know the Shravana of the Gnana, we have to do Manana. That means we have to logically think about it, and then Nivrutta, all the Sanshayas, doubts. And the third part is to change the sanskaras. That happens by Nididhyasana. That is what we saw in the 6th Adhyaya, the Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana, the Nididhyasana, is the most important sadhana for changing our sanskaras and converting the Jnana into Vijnana. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvataha. So here Lord Krishna shows us and tells us that the Atmajnana, the self-knowledge, is a rare attribute. Everybody cannot understand this, cannot reach to this. And he says, Manushyanam sahasreshu, out of thousands of human beings, he says, Kaschit yatati siddhaye, only a few, Kaschit, only a few makes efforts, yatati, yatatam, they make their efforts and they reach to their goal, siddhaye, siddha. They cannot, everybody cannot, and the goals are two mainly. First is Antakaran Shuddhi, the purity of the mind, and only with this we can reach to the next step of the goal, that is called the Atmajnana or self-knowledge. So these are the two stations that we have to cross. We have to first to reach to the first station, only then we can reach to the second level. So these are the two main goals. Only a few people can reach these goals. And he says, Yatatam api siddhanam, out of those who are making the efforts, also, he says, Kaschit mam vetti tattvataha, means only a rare few know me in reality. So this by itself, Lord Krishna says that this Atmajnana is not that common. There are, out of thousands of people, only few makes efforts, and out of the thousands who make effort, only few can know me, can understand me in reality, in tattvataha. So let us understand this shloka. So human life, he says, Manushyanam sahasreshu. So it's only, it doesn't say Jivanam sahasreshu. All Jiva cannot achieve this Atmajnana, because it's only the Manushya life, the human life, where we become eligible to obtain this Atmajnana. And that's why the human life is considered to be very precious, very rare, because it is here in this life that we can do something so that we can reach to this Atmajnana. And we are only bestowed with that kind of mind, that kind of intelligence, that kind of understanding, that kind of efforts we can put in, that kind of karma we can do, which can give us punya, that kind of sadhana we can perform, which can lead us to the Atmajnana. So only goal, according to our Shastra, the ultimate or the final goal of our human life is to reach to this Gnana, that is to be one with the Lord. That is the final goal of this human life. And that's why we must prioritize our life and make best use of our time in our life, because human life is so precious and each moment is so precious, because once it goes, it never comes back. And that's why we should make the best use of our time. And human life is considered to be invaluable, rare. And a lot of times in our life, we get pain and miseries, and these are all wake-up calls. ये भी कहते हैं कि दुख जो आता है वो भी भगवान की कृपा है, because it helps us to waken us up, so that we try to see whether what path we are going, we are following the right path, or we need to do some course correction along the path. So all these wake-up calls are very, very important for us. And only a few people who are viveki, who are vicharshil, who keep thinking, they will wake up. Most of the people like us, we keep sleeping. Even if there are so many wake-up calls, we'll keep sleeping, we won't wake up, we won't understand what we need to do, what is this precious life, how rare it is, Atma Gnana, and how it is important for us to pursue this journey. And Bhagwan कहते हैं कि ये यात्रा, the spiritual journey is quite durlabh, rare yatra, and we need to change our attitude. But he talks about this rarity here so that we have the value, we have the respect for this Atma Gnana, and we become eager to understand, to know, to achieve this Atma Gnana. And that's why he's saying this is durlabha. Human life and even desires for Gnana, Moksha, everything is rare. Human life is rare. It said that there are 84 lakhs of yonis through which we pass. We take different births, and when we get a human life, it is rare. And in a human life, to have a desire for this Atma Gnana or Moksha is also very rare. The awareness and the commitment that we need for this sadhana is also rare, because it constantly needs a lot of commitment and awareness. And this effort is not just one time. This effort needs to be continued for a long period of time, almost a lifelong effort. That's what Bhagwan always tells us, Nirantar, Satatam. These are all the words that he uses frequently in Bhagavad Gita, that this yoga sadhana, these efforts we need to continue. That is also rare. And then to give us the good direction, the right direction, to help us understand the meaning of what scriptures tell us, we need a Tatvanishta Gnanina Tatvanishta Guru. That is also rare, who can show us the direction. That's why Bhagwan says, Kaschit Mam Veti Tatvata. That's why rarely a few people know me in reality. So many other things are also rare. The glitter of this world does not allow me to get away from this and to go towards the Lord. There's so much of attraction in this world, and very few people will have that kind of a Shraddha, faith and surrender to the Lord, complete acceptance of the Lord. We may have faith, but we don't accept whatever happens to us completely. We always try to say, no, iski jagah ye hona chahiye tha, ye ho gaya, iski jagah ye hona chahiye tha. We all have a lot of agra, duragra, that no, this should happen like this. Whenever I do something, this must happen. I must get this kind of phala. So a lot of all these problems are there. We don't have complete acceptance or surrender to the Lord. And that's why very few people can reach to the first goal, that is the Antakarana Shuddhi. And then after that, in the sadhana, we have a lot of ego, pride of our karma, our sadhana, our bhakti, our satkarma, all these sadgunas, all these, we have a lot of pride. And that's why to understand Paramatma, Tattva and this Gnan in its real essence is indeed difficult. There is no doubt about it. And that's why Lord says, Kaschit Mam Veti Tattvataha. Very rarely, few people only know me in reality. So this Tattvataha, to know God in reality, what does it mean actually? And our scriptures, our Vedanta and the Upanishads tell us that just as the name and the form changes in this world, everything that changes is all anitya. It cannot be tattva or it cannot be satya. And that's why behind that, of course, even God changes the name and the form in the avatar swarupa and all this. So that also cannot be the tattvata, that cannot be the reality. But behind all these names and forms that keep changing, the tattva, there is one tattva which is changeless, which is nitya. And that is the swarupa of the paramarthik swarupa of the Lord or the God. And just as there is a consciousness or Chaitanya behind every name and form that keeps changing, similarly, there is a Chaitanya behind every name and form of even God that keeps changing. And this Chaitanya is the same. There is only one Chaitanya, which is also called Brahma, or in an individual isolated, it is called Chaitanya Tattva, is behind the Ishvara and the Jiva both. In Jiva we call it Atma. When it is Sarva Vyapaka everywhere, we call it Brahma. When it is behind the Ishvara, we call it Chaitanya. So all this Chaitanya Tattva is same, and this Chaitanya Tattva between which is part of me and the Lord is the same. This is the Abheda Gnana Aham Brahmasmi, which we have to understand. That is also rare. This is the Tattvataha. We have to understand what Lord says. Then in the next shloka, Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayuhu Kammano Buddhi Revacha Ahankara Iti Yamme Bhinna Prakriti Rashtadha. So here Lord describes the Prakriti. Describes Prakriti, we also call it nature in English. It is the part of the reality of the Lord, and this is what he describes in these next two shlokas. He says, Bhumihi, Apaha, Analah, Vayuhu, Kham. So these are the five main elements, the five great elements, the Pancha Mahabhuta, the Pancha Tattva, earth, fire, water, air and space. So these are the five Mahabhuta. Here he says, Mana, Buddhi, Evacha, Ahankara. Along with this, take mind, intellect and ego. The three other, it says, Itiyam Bhinna Me Prakriti Ashtada. It says, Bhagavan says, this is my 8 differentiated types of my Prakriti, my nature. He says, so the Panch Sukshma, the Mahabhuta and the 3, Sukshma Mahabhuta, that is the Mana, Buddhi, Eva, Ahankara. The next shloka. Apareyamita Svanyam Prakrutim Vidhi Me Param Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho Yayedam Dharyate Jagata. So here Lord Krishna shows his 2 types of Prakriti. He says one is the Apara Prakriti, another is the Para Prakriti. And he says Apara Ayam Itaha Anyam. This is my Apara Prakriti, which he already has said, the 8 Ashtada, Prakriti, Rashtada in the previous shloka. He says these 5 great elements and the Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara. This is my Apara Prakriti. And he says there is another Prakriti which is apart from this. Itaha Anyam. There is another Prakriti. Prakritim Vidhi Me Param, which is my other Prakriti, which is called Para Prakriti. Para means which is the higher or the highest or the best type of Prakriti. This is the Apara, means the lower type, and the Para means which is even better than the previous one. He says this is Apara, that is the Para Prakriti. And what is that Para Prakriti? He says Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho, which is in the form of the Jiva or the consciousness, he says. And Yaya Idam Jagat Dharyate, which is the foundation or the substratum or the Adhisthana of this universe, on which this is the foundation of this universe. He says, so that is what Jiva Prakriti, that is the Para Prakriti according to the Lord. So Bhagavan use karte hain word, this is called Me Prakriti. This is my nature. He says this belongs to me. All these Prakriti, all these Apara as well as the Para Prakriti belongs to me. It is my own nature, he says. So in Apara Prakriti, he spoke about the 5 Pancha Mahabhuta. Here you have to understand, Guruji says that you have to understand the Sukshma Panch Mahabhuta, not the Sthula that when we see, because from the Sukshma, a lot of, when the universe develops, from the Sukshma, the Sthula Panch Mahabhuta develops, and from that the Jagata develops. So that is the Sukshma Panch Mahabhuta, whereas the Para Prakriti is the Jiva or the Chetan Prakriti. All the Sukshma Panch Mahabhuta and everything is Jada, even Samashti, Sukshma Sharir, that is also the Mana, Buddhi and Ahankara. So that is to be taken at a universal level, that is called the Samashti Sukshma Sharira, which is the Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara, which is part of our inner self, which is the one that takes the journey after the death of the gross body. The Sukshma Sharir is the one that goes from one body to the other. So that is the Sukshma Sharir. In an individual level it is different. On a Samashti level it is the Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara. So all these, Bhagavan says that this is my Apara Prakriti and this is my Para Prakriti. So if we need to understand that there are 2 main problems for us, that one is the Aham, that is the ego or the pride that we have, and the second is the Mama or our attachments. And if we see an example of a tree, the branches and the leaves are kind of like a Mama or my attachments, whereas the trunk and the roots are more like my Aham, my ego, on which my Mama is founded. And that's why if we want to take care of these both problems that we face, we have to first go of the attachment. Just like when you want to cut a tree, first you have to cut the branches and the leaves, the branches, and then you have to cut the trunk or go to the root. You can't just take out the tree from the root. So similarly, Aham cannot be removed till the Mamakar, the attachments are removed, and that's why first we have to take care of the Mamakar or the attachments and then take care of the ego. So there are several ways we can let go of the attachment or the Mamakara. By understanding, Bhagavan himself says that everything in this world is transient, it belongs to me, Apara Prakriti, and this is what we have to understand, we have to accept. Even not just this world, but even the human body is also very transient, and the life goes on. Even in the 8th Adhyaya, he says that Jagata, the entire Jagat is Ashashvatam, Dukhalayam, and we have to put our attachment in the God where it belongs, because this belongs to Him. All this, Prakriti belongs to Him, and that's why we have to keep our attachment not in these worldly organs but in the God, because He is the main source from which everything arises. And we must understand that Lord or Bhagavan is the owner of everything, because it all belongs to Him. I'm just a trustee. I shouldn't feel that this is, everything belongs to me. Most of the times we feel that, because this is officially on my name, this belongs to me, this house, this car, this, everything, this, my children, my parents, they all belong to me, they are mine. This attachment I must, try to convert it into everything belongs to the Lord, even in this world, even in my family, everything. And that's how with this understanding, we can reduce our attachments gradually. And Bhagavan to ye bhi kehte hai ki even para prakriti is mine. He says even jiva belongs to the God. This is my prakriti, he says. So in the life in the jiva is due to Chaitanya. That is the adhishtan, the foundation that God says jiva bhutam mahabaho. He says, and so this is, and when we see inside, we can see that this is a sakshi. This is the atma through which this is the adhisthana or the jiva prakriti or the para prakriti. And when we see this the same tattva everywhere, we see this and we call this as Brahma or Paramatma. That is also part of the para prakriti of the Lord. So this is, and all this is part of the Lord. He says apara as well as para prakriti mera hi hai. You don't have attachment, you just be attached to me. He says in my swarupa, that's all. And it is only that jiva, we operate from our ajnata. By not knowing that all this belongs to the Lord, that all this is Lord, we believe that all this belongs to me, and that's why we don't understand the oneness or the Brahma behind this, and that is what is the main source of our problems. So that's why the jiva is ajnata, whereas gnata is Brahma. When we know that all this is one, everything belongs to the Lord and God is one, when we have this understanding, this knowledge, that knowing itself, we get a liberation from this. Etadhyonini bhutani sarvani tyupadharaya aham krutsnasya jagatah prabhavah pralayastatha. So here Lord says material cause of the seen world is also Almighty. Says iti upadharaya, decide firmly that etat yonini sarvani bhutani, all the beings are born from my prakriti, from my nature. I am the yoni of all these bhutani, all the beings are born from my, I am the origin from where everything arises, all the prakriti, the nature. Aham krutsnasya jagatah prabhavah pralayah tatha. I am the cause for the origin and the dissolution of the entire universe, Lord says here. And so that's why we need to understand that creation is the same as the material cause, and everything comes from the Lord. Not only that, even Upanishad says that when He creates this universe, He enters this universe. That's why He is also part of this creation. So it's not just the nimitta karan, but also the upadana karan. He is same as the material cause. The creation and the material cause is the same, and that's why we have to understand that the Jiva and the Ishwar is also one through this oneness that belongs. And that's why this is what we have to see. That's why in Shastra it is called Aham Idam Pratyaya Vishaya, that is oneness. That is also, Guru Ma explains this in quite details, that Apara Prakriti is the Idam Prakriti, this what we can see outside, and this is also termed as Kshetra in the next Adhyayas of Bhagavad Gita, and this is also called the Drashya or the Jada Prakriti. Whereas the Para Prakriti is the Aham Prakriti, the I in real sense, which is also called the Kshetrajna, the knower, the seer, and one which is the Drashta, the seer, which sees, which is not seen but is the seer, and that is also the Chaitan or the Chaitanya Prakriti. So these are the two Prakritis, and Bhagavan says this as both are one, Aham Idam. And the problem with the Jiva is that we mix both these Prakritis. This is called the Jada Chetana or the Jada Chitta Granthi, Jada Chetana Granthi, so that we mix both the Atma and Anatma, and we believe that I am both the Jada and the Chetana, I am both, and that's why how we get attached to this Jada Padartha and the other things. And that is of course the cause for the Sansar Chakra, because with this Granthi We continue to do lot of attachments with this. We do karma. We also do bhoga, the enjoyments of the pleasures, the sense pleasures. And then with this, we keep having janma because of the karma phala. And then this cycle of karma, bhoga, janma, this continuously goes on. And that is the sansar chakra. And there is only one way for liberation, to know the reality between these two prakritis, to see the clear distinction between Atma, Anatma, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Drashya and Drashta, Aham, Idam, Pratyaya. To see this in one totality is the way to realization that I am just not this body, this mind, this complex, but I am the consciousness, I am the Chetan, and my Chetan is one with the Chetan of this universe, this cosmos. That is also one with the Chaitanya Tattva behind every different forms of Avatara of the Bhagavana, and everything is one. And with this, from this is where the entire universe arises, which is born and it is dissolved. So the next shloka, Matta parataram nanyata kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. So he says, O Arjuna, Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya means also means that the greatest wealth, whose greatest wealth is knowledge, his greatest dhana is knowledge. And Arjuna, Matta parataram na anyat kinchit api asti. There is nothing other than me to be known in this life, in this world, in this universe. There is nothing more than me to be known, he says. Idam sarvam mai protam. All these that you see in this world, this Sthula Jagata, the Sukshma Jagata, everything, he says, is woven in me. Idam sarvam mai protam. Sutre manigana iva. Just like all the beads are threaded on a string or on a thread, everything, all this world, he says, is woven in me. And this is what he wants us to see it this way. Behind all the names and forms that we see in this world, we must try to see Ishvara. And that is how he wants us to see. Though this is difficult, we know that world is a beautiful creation, but our drashti, our vision is always on the different names and the forms, and that's why we are not able to see that one thread that binds all these names and forms so that it can look beautiful. And generally that thread is not seen also. We have to make some efforts to remove, we have to change our vision to remove the beads of different shapes, sizes, and only then we will be able to see this thread. And that is the importance of this Vairagya. So we have to remove these shapes, or the attractive shapes, forms, and then we have to see what is behind this, what keeps everything together. And if you see this in a different perspective, say in this cosmos, in this universe, if you want to see this, that in this thread, in this order, this one order or this thread, all the planets, all the sun, the moon, the universe, the galaxies, the world is of course a very small part of the entire cosmos. Everything is beaded or threaded into this string of the universal order, and everything works in one order. The forces of gravitation, the movements, the rotation of the earth, the planets, the galaxies, the stars, everything works in one order. And this order is nothing but that order which is the Adhisthana or the substratum of this universe, which you can call as Brahma or the Bhagavana. You can call it in any other name, but that is this order in which all these planets can be seen as these beads which are threaded, and they look so beautiful, and they work in the same system. So this is how we have to see. That is what God wants us to see. Rasohamapsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayoho pranavah sarva vedeshu shabda khe paurusham nrushu. So how we can see this? How we can see God everywhere, in every name and form? Bhagavana, that's why he shows his Vibhuti Darshana. In a short 4 stanzas, he shows his Vibhutis, but there is another Adhyaya on Vibhuti Darshana. He says, O Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Apsu aham rasaha. In water, I am the test. So test can only be perceived where there is water. If the tongue is very dry, one cannot perceive the test. So water or the moisture is essential for the test. So he says, in every essence, I am there as an essence. And Prabhasmi Sashi Suryaho. In the sun and the moon, I am the glow. He says, Pranavaha aham sarva vedeshu. In all the Vedas, the Tatparya is Paramatma, and Paramatma there is Ekakshari Nam, that is Omkar, and that is also called Pranavaha. So that is, Bhagavan says, I am in the Vedas, I am the essence of the Vedas, that Omkara. In the space, in the Akash, I am there as a Shabda, because that is the, the Adhishtana Devta of the Shabda is the Akash. And Drushu Paurusham, he says, in all the humans, I am that, the Paurusha, the power of the efforts, that Purushartha, karne ki jo Shakti hai, I am that effort, power of the efforts in all this. Next shloka he says, Punyo Gandha Prutivyam cha Tejaschasmi Vibhavasau Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu. Says Punyo Gandha Prutivyam, I am the pious smell of the earth. The cha Tejaha cha Asmi Vibhavasau, and I am the light of the fire. Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu, I am the life force, the prana, the jiv of all the beings. Satcha cha Tapaha Asmi Tapasvishu, and I am the penance of the ascetics. So all the ascetics of all the people, so all the strength of everything, the essence of everything, and the strength behind everything. And that's why God tries to tell us that, oh human, please don't have a lot of pride or ego that I am the doer, I am doing this, I am this intelligent, I have a good memory, I can learn this well. Don't have all this, because behind all this I am there as your force, as your Shakti, as your power. I am there behind all the qualities. And that's what God tries to tell us with this Vibhuti Nirupan. The Tatparya, the purpose is not just to describe his own splendor. Bhagwan ko ye koi zarurat nahi hai. God doesn't have that ego. He is the Akarta Bhokta Swarupa. He already has said in the 4th Adhyaya, Name Parthasti Kartavyam Trishu Lokeshu Kinchana. I don't have to achieve anything in this loka, but still I am Pravruta in karma, because he wants us to let go of our ego, pride, and that's why we can lead and go ultimately to this ultimate oneness. And that's why the first purpose is that we should try to see God everywhere, try to feel God everywhere. If we cannot see it, try to feel it behind all the names and the forms, and then we can feel this one tattva behind everything. Finally, we have to have this Sarvatma Bhava, to feel that one Chaitanya Tattva, and Sarvatma Bodha, that Jnana. Initially it may be Paroksha Jnana, but finally it must become the Aparoksha Jnana, to know that there is just one Chaitanya, there is nothing else in this universe, and that is the purpose of the Vibhuti Nirupan. Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam Vitti Partha Sanatanam Buddhir Buddhimata Masmi Tejas Tejasvinamaham. So here again God describes his Vibhutis. He says, O Partha, know me always as the Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam, as a source of all the beings, all the Jiva. Buddhi Buddhimatam Asmi, I am the intellect of all the intelligent people, and I am the Tejasvinamaham, means I have the glory or the Teja or the power behind all the brilliant people. And that's why Lord tells us that don't boast of your achievements, your success, because behind every Buddhi, behind every Tej of every intelligent or successful person, I am there, I am present, and that's what Lord wants us to know. Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. He says, O Bharatarshava, the best in the Bharata dynasty, balam balavatam I am the strength of the strong, I am the Kamaraga Vivarjitam, which is the strength of the strong, which is devoid of the desires and the attachments. So not the strength of the strong, which is with attachments or Asuri Sampatti, which is with the Sattvic Sampatti, desire to help, or the strength to help or elevate our own self or somebody else. Dharma Aviruddho Bhuteshu Kamaha Asmi, and I am the desire of the people who are on the righteous path, those who are on the Dharma Marga. Dharma Aviruddho Bhuteshu. So those people who are doing sattvic karma, they are doing good jobs, they are doing swakalyana, helping their own self for their own upliftment, or helping others, parakalyana. These are all the dharma marga. Those people who are on the sattvic marga or the punya marga, I am the desires of these people, I am the strength of these people who are on this marga. And so that's why Bhagavan does his Sarmatma Paramatma Bhav, so that we can get attached to him, we can understand him, and we can see Him, try to see Him behind all the forms and love. Initially, we can see this in the form of one form or the idol. We may do idol worship initially. That's how God has given this system, so that we can do this idol worship and then try to see God everywhere in all the jivas. And then we see God in all the names and forms in this Jagata, Sarvatra Bhagavata Darshana. And finally, we see Brahma Darshana, Brahma Nishtha, and get this eternal knowledge, Atma Jnana. ये चैव सात्विका भावा राजसास्तामसाश्च ये मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि त्वहं तेषु ते मयि. So here God talks about the three worldly objects, the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, and how they arise from me, and how I am not in them, but they are dependent on me, I am not dependent on them. We will see in the next session how these three gunas, the Jagata, how it develops, what is Maya, what is the Swarup of the Maya. All this is very vividly described we will see this in the next session. So in this today's session, what we have seen, just to summarize, Bhagavan says, Mai asakta manaha, attach your mind to me, Madashraya, surrender to me, and Yogam Yunjan, continue to perform Yoga Sadhana. I'll tell you everything about Jnana, Savignanam, what is knowledge, what is that experience, what is assimilated knowledge. And says, Kashchit Mam Vetti Tattvata, only a few people can achieve me, to know me completely. He also describes his Prakriti. He says, all this is my Prakriti, Apara as well as Para Prakriti. And he says, Idam Sarvam Jagata, entire world, entire thing that you see, everything is woven in me. And then he describes his Vibhuti, Nirupan, so that we can have a Sarvatra Paramatma Darshana. And finally, that is the end of today's session. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parah Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.